Time now for Morning Rounds with CBS News Chief Medical Correspondent Dr. John LaPook and CBS News contributor Dr. Holly Phillips. First up, the makers of a possible treatment for women with low sexual desire are trying for a third time to win FDA approval. The pill is sparking debate about sexual health and sexism. John, tell us about this drug.
It's a pill called flibanserin, and it's for something called hypoactive sexual desire disorder. And this is decreased libido, but also the woman cares about it. It's distressing. And as you say, it's been rejected twice. This is the third time that they're putting it up for approval. And it works, supposedly, the makers say, by rearranging the neurotransmitters in your head. So things like serotonin and dopamine, norepinephrine, things that control desire. The idea is that it would rearrange those and get them more in some sort of symphony where libido works correctly.
Holly, I have to say, though, to hear any drug has not passed twice and is up for a third time, it makes me a little nervous. What is the holdup on this?
Sure. You know, there certainly is an outcry for women to have drug options to improve their libido, just like men do. But we only want drug options that work. And basically, these drug manufacturers say they have provided sufficient evidence on about 11,000 women that the drug may increase sexual desire, increase the number of times women have sex each month, and increase their satisfaction with it. The FDA really doesn't see it that way. They're not sure the drug meets all those endpoints, and they have concern about side effects, interactions with other drugs, and sleepiness. So it's not necessarily straightforward.
John, as Holly points out, there are a number of different drugs on the market for men. So why is this one so tricky?
Right. Well, first, I want to emphasize this is for premenopausal women. And yes, it is true that there are a lot of drugs out there for men, and Viagra is the one that everybody thinks about. But Viagra and drugs like that are drugs that affect men below the waist, okay? They increase blood flow to the pelvic region. They help with erectile dysfunction. They do not affect men primarily above the neck. And it's the same thing with this drug. It does not do anything mechanical below the waist. You're talking about above the neck. Now, that's much more complicated. When you think about all the different factors that go into libido, yes, there may be neurochemistry, but also you're tired and the kids are in the house and you like having sex at night and she likes having sex in the morning, and on and on and on. So in there is probably some neurochemistry, but it's very difficult to tease it out. And that's one of the reasons why it's so hard to prove that any pill is actually doing the trick.
Another big story in women's health this week. A new study finds hot flashes and other menopause symptoms could last much longer than previously thought. So, Holly, tell us about this study.
You know, it's a very large study, actually the largest one done to date on this particular issue. We know that about 80% of women before they start menopause, in years leading up to it and through menopause, experience hot flashes, or what we call vasomotor symptoms. And those generally last a few years, or we thought they did. This study shows the average length of hot flashes is about 7 years, and for some women, it can extend to as long as 14 years. In fact, the earlier the hot flashes start, the longer they last. So it really sort of changed the way we thought about it.
John, do hot flashes occur only after menopause?
No, and in fact, I do want to emphasize, because I think it's been a little bit overlooked, that this study was talking about women with severe hot flashes. We're talking about 6 or more hot flashes in 2 weeks. The women who didn't have severe hot flashes got thrown out of the study. And yes, if a woman is still having her periods when she gets her first hot flash, they tend to last on average more than 12 years.
Well, clearly no woman looks forward to this. So are there any predictors universally that a woman can be aware of if she might need to anticipate this could be the path? Well,
what was interesting in this study was that race and ethnicity really correlated with how long the hot flashes would last. African American women had the longest duration of hot flashes, around 10 years. Japanese and Chinese women had a shorter duration, closer to 5 years. It could be that there are genetic factors at play, but it also could be social and lifestyle issues that are affecting all of the women involved.
Scientists are praising what could be a major advance in the battle against HIV. Researchers created a way to block the virus from infecting cells in animals. That is leading to calls for human trials soon. This seems like a huge development.
This is really a big deal. Now, again, it's early. It's only been done in just really a few lab animals. But it represents an entirely new approach to both treating and potentially preventing HIV through a process that's quite similar to gene therapy. Basically, the way that HIV attacks our body is that it enters our cells, really through two specific receptors. This protein that the scientists have created basically blocks those receptors, so the HIV can't enter. In the studies, it's blocked all strains of both HIV-1 and HIV-2, and those are the strains that affect humans.
Wow, this sounds pretty exciting, John.
Well, these are in animal studies, right? It's not in humans yet, and I am very interested in this because, you know, we tend to forget about HIV. We think that there is some sort of effective treatment, which there is. It turns it into a chronic disease. But remember, the last statistics from the World Health Organization, at the end of 2013, there were 35 million people around the world with HIV and 1.5 million deaths. So this is still a big problem. And I have to say, just on a personal note, I lost a friend to a complication of the treatment for HIV last fall. You know, these drugs do have side effects, especially long-term, and it would be great to have some sort of more effective treatment that doesn't have these long-term side effects.
Well, then how long do you think it'll be before we put this to use?
You know, you can't say for sure. The researchers involved say they actually hope to start human trials within a year. The first step would be to see if the drug is effective in controlling HIV in people who are already infected. And then the next step would be to see if it's effective in preventing HIV, almost used in a type of vaccine, a vaccine approach.
All right, a potential wake-up call for parents this week. Researchers say afternoon naps might interfere with a toddler's sleep at night. The study says daytime napping after age 2 lengthens the time it takes for a child to fall asleep. It also shortens the amount of sleep kids get.
Mine's still going to get one. Finally, next time you go out for sushi, pity the penguin. A University of Michigan-led study finds penguins can't taste the catch of the day. Genetic evidence shows the black and white birds lost the ability to taste sweet, bitter, and savory umami flavors millions of years ago. Researchers blame the cold. They believe frigid temperatures led to a loss of the genes needed to taste these flavors.
So that's why I couldn't taste my coffee
I was
this
going to
morning.
say, that's why I'm losing my taste this winter.
The authors point out that maybe one of the reasons is that the penguins just sort of inhale the food. They eat it whole, which some of us do. But hopefully this is the last tasteless story that you hear from CBS
How did you know
Morning.
about
You spun so many of those together. Nicely done.
Dr. John LaPook, Dr. Holly Phillips, thanks so much.